Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips the balance in favor of fair use. Look at how Scientology can just pick and choose their judges. I would imagine it's maybe Miscavige in charge, possibly. Especially when it comes to sexual abuse of children, right? Because the minute that you put in a marriage vow, then all of a sudden it's no longer sexual abuse. I'm just saying. This is from Courthouse News Service. Judge out in Scientology suit. Why didn't they describe it more accurately? David Miscavige chooses a different judge. Why not tell us the real truth? Why not tell us the real truth? How is it that people can choose their judge? But in my opinion, this is a good thing because it's all starting to crumble. All the 33s are inverting. Judge out in Scientology suit. Of course, nobody knows how to capitalize because, AI. Over forced marriage. It's also a disguise for legally being able to R a young girl. Or a boy. It could be a boy too. Plaintiff lawyer calls timing highly suspicious. Why do they put that in quotations? I'll bet it has some significant meaning in gematria, but I don't have the energy right now. And my gematria knowledge is decent, but ain't nothing like Zachary K. Hubbard or Simple Truth TV. Go check them out. It gets depressing when you know too much. The old judge has just issued a tentative ruling denying David Miscavige, denying troll the church's motion to send the case to arbitration. Denied, troll. From Hillel Aaron. Now come on, you guys. I don't know that name. April 16th, 2024. Los Angeles, California. A lawsuit filed by an unnamed woman against the Church of Scientology and some of its officials. Troll. Over the alleged sexual abuse of a minor. Troll. And the arrangement of a forced marriage between the minor and abuser hit a temporary snag on Tuesday after church leader, and isn't he a wanted felon as well? Allegedly? After church leader David Miscavige filed a motion to remove the judge from the case. And again, I'm just going to state my opinion. I believe the story about David Miscavige having a sex slave. I believe that story. And I'm going to vet it out more when I get done with my surgery. The court was scheduled to hear arguments on the church's motion to force the case into Scientology's own internal arbitration process. On Monday night, Superior Court Judge Robert Broadbelt issued a tentative ruling denying that motion. He found that the contract the plaintiff was pressured into signing in 2002 was so one-sided as to shock the conscience. LAPD, how about that? LAPD, look at that. Unlawfulness. So one-sided as to shock the conscious, LAPD. But I guess it would take a whole lot to shock your consciences. And I know some of the LAPD are decent, but you all know what I'm talking about. Miscavige, who has yet to make a formal appearance, because, he gets to skirt the law. Anyone else, they'd be in jail already. In the case, and who for a time was dodging a summons, kind of like LRH, filed his motion for a new judge on Tuesday morning. It's like they're going shopping, right? They're going shopping for the right judge. Isn't it it's a crime to pay judges off, right? Let me look this up real quick. Okay, it's simple enough. It's called judicial bribery. Blackmail, bribery. So little time, huh, Scientology? The timing is highly suspicious, said Carmen Scott, the plaintiff's attorney, during a short hearing on Tuesday. The tentative was issued last evening. We have not been served with Mr. Miscavige's motion. Nevertheless, Judge Broadbelt said he believed he was required by law to grant the motion. The case will be reassigned to a new judge who will hear Scientology's motion to compel arbitration. In her 2022 complaint, the unnamed plaintiff described a culture and atmosphere in which the sexual assault of minors, otherwise known as rape, within Church of Scientology International was tolerated and even facilitated. I would add, aided and abetted, as well as covering up. Oh, and let's not forget threats and intimidation to the victims of sexual abuse. Children. Yeah. It is common knowledge to members, like children, of Scientology that older members, also known as adults, engage in illicit sexual activities with minors. Don't you love the way they word things? Otherwise known as pedophiles. Let's just keep it real. The woman wrote in her complaint, the practice is both endorsed and facilitated by the Scientology doctrine, otherwise known as policies, because I don't believe it's a doctrine. The plaintiff, known in the complaint as Jane Doe, said she was groomed by a recruiter. By a recruiter. How many rape stories have we heard of the recruiters in Scientology raping the girls or the women? How many? LAPD, I guess, they don't have a problem with that. Groomed by a recruiter for Sea Org, an elite unit. Well, let's just stop with that. Let's just stop with that. Named Gavin Potter, who sexually abused her in a car when she was 16 years old. Potter was at least 26, according to the complaint. He was also her supervisor. Isn't that wonderful? Parents just signed the daughter over, but they were pretty involved, so they felt bad that happened. When she told a coworker about the incident, the other child, the other kid, you guys, she and Potter were given a choice. So she's a minor, Potter's a grown-ass adult. Now they're given a choice. Be assigned to a work camp, otherwise known as the RPF, or if you're really lucky, you go to the RPF's RPF, even as a child, even though that's illegal, but what do I know? For misbehaving, you guys. So when you get raped, they call it misbehaving. Sea Org members call Rehabilitation Project Force or get married. Because you always want to marry your rapist, right? I was just watching another show on Hulu about child brides. It was all too common. It's still going on. And a lot of times parents are involved. I feel like a lot of the parents are getting paid by the pedophile to abuse their child. Facts. Look it up. That same day, Jane Doe's port captain, was that another child? Arranged for Jane Doe, Gavin Potter, and Jane Doe's mother to travel to Las Vegas, Nevada, to complete the marriage. Nothing says child trafficking like Las Vegas, Nevada, does it? The plaintiff wrote in the complaint, after the brief ceremony, The group, the one with no names, immediately returned to Los Angeles. And Jane Doe went back to work, as a child. Later that night, she wrote, Gavin Potter had sexual intercourse with Jane Doe. You guys do realize that Jane Doe was raped numerous times. I believe 100 or more times. So let's just clear up the confused vocabulary right now. Go look up the case. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. Here we go. Jane Doe did not want to have sex with him. That's called rape. That's called rape. It's a crime. But felt coerced and compelled because of the forced marriage. What's the other one? Latter-day Saints do that as well. They like them real young in the Latter-day Saints. Jane Doe described the intercourse as ritualistic and painful. What do I know, you guys? You guys know how I talk about satanic ritual abuse, but in 2002, when she was 27 years old, Jane Doe signed a contract with the Church of Scientology. Kind of like a non-disclosure agreement, like Rinder was trying to make second gens sign during the Aftermath show. Just like that. And agreed that any dispute, claim, or controversy between her and the church or a church official, like a prestigious executive, would be resolved solely and exclusively through Scientology's internal ethics, justice, and binding religious arbitration procedures. The agreement added, I am forever abandoning, surrendering, waiving, and relinquishing my right to sue or otherwise seek legal recourse with respect to any dispute, claim, or controversy against the church. Isn't that exactly what Rinder was trying to get Miriam Francis to sign? Except he wasn't in Scientology anymore, but the non-disclosure agreement was exactly what they're describing right here. In his 20-page tentative ruling, which now is all but meaningless, Judge Broadbelt wrote that the arbitration clause, I wouldn't say it was meaningless. And how dare you even say that in this article, mass media? You're supposed to be unbiased. How dare you say that? Judge Broadbelt wrote that the arbitration clause was invalid for two reasons. Firstly, it was voided by a 2022 federal law, the Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment Act, which voids pre-dispute arbitration clauses in sexual harassment cases. Yeah, how you like us now, Scientology? Secondly, Broadbelt found that the arbitration clause was unconscionable since Jane Doe lacked any sort of negotiation or meaningful choice when she signed her contract, one that was so one-sided as to shock the conscious, since Jane Doe agreed to give up so many rights and the church agreed to sacrifice so few. This is the second time this month that Miscavige has gotten a judge removed in a case against him. Judge shopping. Everyday citizens are not able to shop for judges, especially little girls that were raped as children. This is the second time this month that Miscavige has gotten a judge removed in a case against him and the religious organization he's headed since 1986. Miscavige filed a peremptory challenge in actress Leah Remini's suit against the church for defamation and harassment. The old judge earlier this year significantly pared down that complaint following an anti-SLAPP motion. Basically gave in to little Davy's demands. That the suit was allowed to survive at all was apparently not to the church's liking. Not to Davy's liking. The organization has appealed the ruling. Aw, must be rough to be a multi-billion-dollar business that pretends to be a church while auditing children, and when the children get raped by the grown-ass adults in Scientology, they're told that they're out 2D. Aw, such a bummer. Such a bummer. The Church of Scientology is also battling a third suit in LA Superior Court, filed by 3 women who accuse the church of covering up sexual assaults they experienced at the hands of actor Danny Masterson. We already know how that went. Who was sentenced last year to 30 years to life in prison for rape. Isn't Danny still a Scientologist? Huh. The suit survived an anti-SLAPP motion last month. So I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.